Back to the Tim and Steve show. I am Tim Beard.
I'm Steve Morris.
How you doing, Steve?
Yeah, pretty good.
Feeling prepared today?
Very much so, Tim.
It's been a busy day. This morning I was moving more dirt up to my land, which is taking forever, and it will continue to take forever. You were getting a new phone. I drove by and I was like, "Oh man, you're gonna be there forever." So I got here before you did, and I was like, "I'll do all the show prep stuff." And I just looked at you and said, "We'll just wing it." And by wing it, I mean you'll wing it because I know what I'm doing on here. But it's all good. We'll get through it.
I did do more than get a phone, though. I prepped for the school board meeting tonight.
I know you've been all concerned about that, and I understand because
It's the first time I'm actually serving as and as the vice chair. I'm acting
actually
as chair
acting exactly. And I'll give you credit because I've done that, but I was on the zoning board for like 5 years before I had to do a meeting. Of course, the first meeting I did was like very controversial, big, huge thing,
Of
and
course.
it went well. But yeah, so you don't have as many under your belt, so you'll do fine. It's pretty simple stuff.
I know. It's just
Keep 'em in
trying to
line.
make sure I follow, and you got to take certain votes in certain ways, and
Trust me, they'll correct you if you get it wrong.
I know they will. But I don't like being. I mean, I don't mind being corrected, but I'd like to show that I did my research, and so I watched some school board meetings in the past this morning and compared that with my notes, and I try to be prepared tonight. So we'll see.
We'll
See
see.
how it goes.
5 o'clock, NCTV, and it'll be on. Well, if you're
And
Zoom, but come to the meeting. We've been saying this for 2 weeks now. Tonight's the night, people. Show up. Let's get some people there to support the
You're
school.
going to present our donation that we raised tonight?
Yeah, I'll present that. I'll do public comment. I'm not sure what I'm going to talk about yet, but nothing really bad. Just good. Yeah, nothing.
There's been a lot of good things going on.
There has. It's been really easy to find. It's been easy to talk about good things.
Yeah.
This week's been a little slower for us to find like stories to talk about as far as local stuff, but overall there's a lot of good things happening right now. It's the end of the school year, so and then the other stuff. But last night we found a double wide in Cornish in Goshen, and it was cheap, and we're looking to put a house up on our land, so this would be a perfect like starter. We can make it really nice. It's pretty dumpy right now, of course, but
Yeah, I mean, but it doesn't look like.
no, it has.
I mean, it looks like a house basically. Like
Yeah.
Until we rip the skirting off.
Yeah,
When I
and
say we, I mean Emilio.
Until he busted
Adriano.
up his finger.
Yeah.
It's too bad we didn't have cameras yesterday though, because Adriano fell through the deck twice.
That sledgehammer incident where all of us
Oh,
were
that
waiting
was
to die.
hilarious. He like slams it into the deck. It breaks, and he like panics. He's like, "Oh my god, where is it?" Thinking it. I'm like, dude, it's been like 10 seconds already. It would have hit you. You're not Hercules. It didn't go.
Yeah, I didn't know it broke off, and I was like, if it's
Yeah.
going to kill anyone, it's going to hit me because I was right behind
Right
him.
behind him. Yeah. So I appreciate the help though.
Yeah, we almost had a Darwin Award for me
Yeah.
because that was a dangerous place to be standing with. But I mean, I guess we didn't know that it was that frail of a.
He did just
sledgehammer.
find it on the ground somewhere. But yeah, so moving that, trying to get dirt at my land so I can level out a spot, like where that'll go, and then with the show, and then obviously yesterday we decided not to do a show just because of, which is something we'll talk later on the show a little bit about, but the Texas shooting, prayers, thoughts for all the families affected by that. It's horrible. So we were like, you know what, let's not have a show yesterday that, you know, we're going to slam a bunch of politicians and stuff, and you know, let's just take a day off. And so I'm glad we did that. And then so we've got 2 apologies to the people. One's mine, one you're gonna have to own though. So I didn't realize Tuesday's show was up, but it didn't actually get. It was unlisted, so it wasn't made private. That's all you. So we apologize. You haven't been able to actually watch our last show on the Tuesday show because it was up, but until someone told me today that they couldn't watch it. I'm like, what's going on? I clicked on it. I'm like, oh, that happens.
I don't know how that happened because it's usually the last thing I hit before you hit finish is make it public,
Of course,
private.
Now we know. We'll have to look in the future. And
Yeah, well, I mean, it shows you too, right here.
right. My apology is for this.
So I apologize for those that could not watch it, since I am the one that uploads them.
And my apology is more embarrassing, though. This whole time I've been spelling Brent's name wrong. There's no N in Wilmot. Yeah, I apologize about that. That's all me, because I'm definitely the bad speller out of the two of us for sure. It's funny. I pick up spelling errors more than I ever used to. I'll notice things, but
Well, I feel like
yeah,
at Dancing with the Stars, they pronounced it Wilmont. Like I thought I heard
yeah.
an N.
Well, he's
And
coming in a
so,
little bit later, so we'll see. Maybe he'll be like, "Oh no, it does have an N," but
no, it
you looked it
doesn't. I
up.
looked it up,
Yeah,
and we're just
man,
either he doesn't really care that we spelled his name wrong, or he hasn't even checked out our channel. He doesn't want to hear himself.
he's never
Or else.
watched it. Are you kidding me?
He should.
He's not here to
Christ,
defend
really
himself,
bad.
so not right now, anyways. So June 1st is freshman step up day at the school at 10:30. New phone, forgot to turn the ringer off. For students, so freshmen, so basically I assume it'd be eighth graders. Then uh, we'll get the layout of the land, I guess, if you'd say, at 10:30, and then at 6 o'clock for parents. Um, Parents can come in and check out all the freshman stuff. Last night, our seniors had their senior banquet.
Yeah.
Um,
You got their yearbooks
they got their yearbooks, and
before graduation, so I know
that's a
nice
huge
for
improvement.
yeah.
Because when I was in school, you always got your yearbook before graduation. But the last few years, it's been not good. And then this new business lady that's there, I guess, is like on it. Like it sounds like they've got a good one. Hopefully, we can keep her because they're they're ready. And they were actually ready like a month ago. They just didn't want to tell anyone yet because they didn't want to be getting bugged about it. Like, hey, we want our yearbook. So, but the class of 2022, which is Zeta and Lisi's class, dedicated their yearbook to Mrs. Stevens. So shout out to Mrs. Stevens again for just being a great teacher and
Great teacher.
affecting so many lives positively in Newport. She's the horticulture teacher. She's actually been on Good Morning America
Yeah.
a few years back. So it's awesome. I'm glad they dedicated it to her. It's a
No,
perfect
that's
person.
awesome. I'm pretty sure that for like just a personal story, Zeta's Montana State, I'm pretty sure wrote her because of her involvement with FFA her freshman year, like because it was the school, the I don't know, not biology, but the horticulture aspect of Montana State is what who originally had written her and showed interest in her coming to school there.
Nice.
And I'm sure it might be something else, but Zeta did FFA with Mrs. Stevens
Yeah,
her
no,
freshman year.
yeah, at least she did too. She did like floral arrangements and
Right.
stuff, and it's so just awesome program. It's just another case of the CTE being so vital to our community and to our students, and so really a shout out to Mrs. Stevens. Thank you for all this you do for Newport.
She should be getting recognized too by the local chapter tonight, agriculture, and
It's not a secret, is it?
I don't think so.
Surprise!
No, well, I mean, I don't
Is
think
it at
she's
the board
gonna be
meeting?
watching this. Yep,
Oh, okay.
at the board meeting.
All right, so she probably
It'll
knows.
be in well, it'll have to get approved through the add to the agenda items process, but should be.
There'll be, yeah. NHIAA Division III Track and Field Championship is this Saturday, 28th. It's at Pelham High School. And because it's an NHIAA, they charge $7 for adults, $5 for students and seniors. So normally, like, we don't charge for anyone to get in its donation, but whenever it's the NHIAA, just like our championship games, like football and stuff, yeah, they charge. But whatever, it is what it is. So yeah, if you want to check out the track and field championship, it's going to be Pelham High School. I'm sure that'll be a big event, and hopefully the weather holds off because it didn't look great for
Yeah, it
Saturday.
looks like it. There were some storm clouds out to the east of us right now, so
Yeah,
maybe
it's not supposed to rain until tomorrow night, but who knows? Maple Street's all paved,
I saw that.
smooth. I went up it yesterday. I do want to say though, this is just the world we live in now. Okay, so the day they paved it, there was all kinds of people, and I didn't see it. Someone told me because I was busy with my own stuff, but bitching about the delays and the road being paved and all that, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, shut the hell up. If you ain't got nothing better to say, just don't say nothing at all. Like, they're finally paving the road so it's smooth. Like, you have a right to complain. Well, you have a right to complain anyways, but I'm still just going to tell you, like, shut the hell up. But now, if you got a big pothole and you go on Facebook and you're like, hey, we need to fix this, that's a complaint that's valid. But you want to complain because the road's getting paved and it's delaying you and blah, blah, blah. Like,
Well,
freaking well.
I had a complaint about Corbin Road. And it wasn't because they were paving; it was because of the signage that they used. Now, obviously, I didn't go on social
Yeah.
media, but it said 1 lane ahead,
Yeah.
and I needed to go into Newport, and I was, as usually as I am, I was running exactly on time to where I could not miss one turn.
And
And
you
then the
did.
guy tried to wave me down to go backwards through that dirt road through Corbin
Yeah.
or through Croydon,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's not what the sign says. The sign says 1 lane, prepare to stop. It didn't say detour ahead. Because if it would have said detour ahead, I would have turned down
Yeah. Oak Street.
Oak
Yeah.
Street.
Well, so to defend that, like to talk about that. So Maple Street, everyone knew well in advance about, like, they knew like this was happening. Uh, I too was in that situation with. I went to go down Corbin Road. I'd always take Corbin Road. I could take Oak Street, but I just always take Corbin. And it said road closed. I'm like, oh. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go through Croydon down Brook Road. And I'm like, I swear, if I get to the bridge and it's still closed here, I'm gonna be pissed because now I'm gonna have to go all the way around. Luckily, it wasn't. But yeah, that's just bad signage. But that's a state road. That's a mess. That's not a town
No, I know,
deal.
but
But
it was just
yeah,
poorly
it was.
worded.
I agree with that. But man, like some people just gotta bitch no matter what. Like no matter what, we gotta.
So they were complaining.
Yeah, yeah. Last night we had our first. We're part of the Newport. It's part of the rec, but it's put on by Pinnacle Academy, which is Pinnacle Sport. Um, Across. Well, I think most people know where it is, but almost across from the Mexican place there. So I've never done competition shooting at all. So I scrambled on Tuesday, which was orientation, because I didn't have things I needed, which was a left-handed holster, because you have to have a holster. And yeah, that didn't pan out for me. Luckily, I found one at my house, but then my gun, my 9mm, I only have one clip for it, one magazine, and you need 32 rounds to do the shooting thing, and mine only holds 16. And long story short, so yesterday we did our thing, and I had to like reload the clips between each round, and I don't know how, but I miscounted. Like I thought I had two extras in my pocket, but it was actually three short. So I'm gonna use that as an excuse for being horrible. So Steve, we both suck at shooting currently at the current moment, but one of us is a lot worse than the other one, and that would be me. So out of 288 points, you got what, 166? Mm-hmm. I got a whopping 112. Uh, if if my person was 6 inches taller and 6 inches wider, totally would have took a shoulder out. But yeah, so I got some improving there, but a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's some guys there that really practice and really take
Yeah,
and they take it seriously.
yeah, we'll have to get it. We'll hopefully get a little better.
'Cause both of us look like scrubs. I had magazines in my pockets and my belt band, dropping them, and you
Yeah.
can't bend over and pick them up because of safety.
Very, very well run though. Very well run.
Jim Burrows.
Jim Burrows, the former chief in town, runs the whole thing. You have two safety guys on each side, like extremely, extremely well run. It's a cold range, so no loaded weapons until it's time to fire, and then they confirm the gun is unloaded. So
That's very safety oriented.
very safety oriented. A lot of fun. A lot of fun. A lot of people there. You talking and just hanging out, and hopefully, well, I say hopefully I get better. I should easily get better. So I guess if you are a bad guy breaking into my house and I shoot at you, don't zigzag because you might stray into a bullet.
It's coming straight at you.
Yes, run perfectly straight. But yeah, hopefully we'll see how we improved
Yeah, so
next
it's 3
week.
months long, so we got plenty of time to.
We
get
do.
better.
Todd Frasso was picking on me. He's like, it looks like a turkey grouping over here. I was like, everything's shooting great, but I just
Bird shot.
And I said last night on Facebook, I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to hit the blue thing. Oops. And then the last thing, local stuff is Monday, and we'll talk about it again tomorrow, just to remind people. But Monday's Memorial Day, 11 o'clock on the town common. There's their ceremony they do every year. We'll be there. Come down, check it out. Pay respects to the fallen men and women of our country, and they do the cannon. They got a gun salute. They got all that good stuff. So, yeah, if you can, you're not working on Monday, and come down, check it out. Remember, Memorial Day is not just a long weekend; it's for a reason, and that's a lot of people have died for our freedom. So
Remember those who serve to defend and protect
yes,
our unalienable rights.
yes, Yeah, we'll talk more about those later too. But so I have two stories. Like we kind of talked about the funny story of the day. These two are just stupid stories of the day, in my personal opinion. Today could be one of those shows that you worry more about than I do. But so this first one is San Francisco Public Schools drops chief from job title so as not to offend Native Americans. So apparently the word chief is now offensive to Native Americans. And all the things in the world we have to worry about. These morons in San Francisco are worried about the word chief offending somebody.
Yeah, they should be focusing on this. I mean, yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like, it's just beyond ridiculous.
Well, there's a way that if you use it, then yes, it could be derogatory towards Native Americans. But if you're talking about the chief of police, the chief of schools,
this is no longer will division chiefs be referred to as chiefs.
Maybe division supervisors.
Stupid, just stupid. If you're offended by everything,
what did they change it to?
I don't even know if it even says what they changed it to. Let's see, what did they change it to? They says they're dropping the word chief, and yeah, I don't know. Well,
they're probably like division supervisor, or division head, but then
yeah, because there's like
I mean, I could play the game with them all day long on just about almost any word you come up with. You could complain about.
Yeah,
or not complain or find
chief technology officer or chief of staff. They will not. They're going to drop. There are at least 13 positions in the district that will be renamed. Doesn't really say what the. It's just stupid. Like if you're offended by everything, like, get the hell over it. Like it's so irritating. Yeah, I don't know. Just stupid. If you're offended,
chief is a leader or ruler of a people or clan.
Right.
Most important. So that's according to the dictionary with a quick type of the word, origin of the word chief.
Right. So like the chief of police is coming in shortly.
Chief of the village.
Yeah.
Most important, leader of a ruler of people or clan. It doesn't say Native American in the dictionary. I would look it up. It's from Middle English. Chef, borrowed from Old French chief, leader, from Vulgar Latin capus, from which also captain, chieftain. So, I mean, it's not...
It's just stupid.
Yeah.
I wonder how many Native Americans they asked, does this offend you? And if it offends you, oh well, things offend me, but...
Well, not even that. Like, take that out of the equation and do what I did and spend 8 seconds typing in origin of the word chief and read what it says, even in Wiktionary, which normally I wouldn't even trust, but it says that it's an older word than when, we landed here in the Americas. So it literally, maybe, I don't know, I won't say literally, but it mostly, according to this, has nothing to do with Native Americans, with their chieftains.
Right.
It has to do with, it's been around since Old French. It's an Old French word. So
let's go to another.
So that to me, it's just silly because you're creating controversy where there probably shouldn't be any if you have a normal conversation without telling people, like your approach is aggressive, whereas mine is, well, let's just look up the word and say, no, you're okay. Well, it might, but how are they using the word? Oh, chief of staff. So he's the most important person on the staff. That means he is the one who is responsible for everybody underneath him or her.
So if anything, it would be a positive thing that Native Americans look at. Like chief is an honorable thing. You're the chief of police. That's like you're the leader of the police department. So that would be.
Well, I don't even think it has
negative.
anything to do with being Native American is what I'm saying. So like,
that's
why I would
right.
Like you try to have a normal conversation, which you're having the emotional reaction, which is what the people in San Francisco had, right? They're like, oh, you can't say the word chief. That's hateful language. Like, what? That's not hateful language. It's a word that's been around forever. So like, end of discussion, go somewhere else.
It just is typical liberals think changing words is going to make the world better. Like,
I don't even think it's liberals. I think it's people with it's
San Francisco's liberals.
It's probably progressives.
I'll give you that one. I will give you that one. That's true.
Yeah.
Same tree, different branch, though.
Not really. I mean, the problem you get is when you look into the leftist might work.
I like leftist better. We should start using that more because actually I know someone else uses that because everyone's like, I'm liberal on certain things. Like,
Right. That's
so
why, like, when you
yeah,
say it, it's like, well, I
that's
mean,
true.
we're we're liberal with our sense of uh, democracy, our constitutional republic. It's a liberal idea. So,
Okay.
I,
So a bunch of leftist progressives. Does that work?
or leftist,
Leftists. We'll use leftists.
or activist, people looking for something to complain about.
Nut
And
jobs. Morons.
no, see, when you start doing, when you use that language though, then you're not going to be able to communicate, because you would think that at some point in time, people would want to have a serious dialogue, right? So, like, if someone starts calling you an idiot for whatever you believe in, then you start getting emotional, and then you're both emotional about it, and you're like, you just end up wanting to, you're aggressive towards each other in your language and maybe your posture and everything else, where it should just be a normal conversation. Like, hey, I appreciate that you're looking out and trying to, protect people. Did they ask to be protected? Like, I would have to do more research to find out, is it some tribe there in San Francisco that is leading this way, or is it probably some master of arts? Uh,
It's some nut job leftist who doesn't have
see,
anything
when you
better to
use
do with
words
their
like
life.
that, you're never going to be able to change their mind and show them
You're
the
never
error
going to
of their
change their
ways.
mind anyways.
I know, but you're definitely not. And well, I guess we'll agree to disagree on this. But to influence people, you generally insult them.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to influence them. I'm trying to point to the fact that
Well,
cancel
no,
culture
it's
is a
silly.
joke.
It's
Yes.
silly. It's finding victimhood where there isn't,
Right.
because being a victim gives you power over other people.
Yeah.
And so when you get to take on an action that's like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing it for this group, that group, or whatever, then that person who's doing that gets a sense of self pride and self worth that they don't really care what you or I think. So it doesn't. My point is you can get angry and whatever else, but they don't really care, because they're fulfilling something in them that makes them feel better about themselves. Because now they are like, oh, I'm protecting these people, and like you said, how many Native Americans were consulted or consulted? Lord,
Yeah,
you can
hanging
tell.
around with
Hey,
me too
no,
much.
well, you can. That's something you do in the army. Consulted. Did they consult any Native Americans before they went on this
So we have another one. Okay.
crusade to get rid of this word?
Same kind of thing. So Martel makes Barbie doll.
Mattel.
Whatever. That's what I think about your damn doll at this point. I didn't play with Barbies as a child. I'm sorry. Didn't learn to read very well either. No, I'm just kidding. Mattel, hey, I'm
I
tired.
can't tell if you're sunburned or if you're getting
No.
agitated with me trying to use logic and reason.
Sunburnt. Like, I got up at 7 yesterday, buddy at school, and worked till 9 o'clock almost last night. So, and then today did it all over again. So no, I'm not mad. I don't ever get mad at you, really. So anyways, Barbie, they're gonna release a transgender one, and it's gonna be actor Laverne Cox is, I guess, whatever is gonna be after her or whatever. It's just
So it's designed after
Yes.
this person called Laverne Cox.
Yeah, who is a transgender. Which, so here's the thing. This is what pisses me off. This person, Laverne Cox, doesn't piss me off. I don't care what you do, but stop pushing your crap on my children. That's what pisses me off. Transgender isn't a real thing. Yeah, you can.
No, it's a real. So
It's not anything natural. It's something you created. Like, so I could say I'm going to become a woman. Doesn't make me a freaking woman.
no, well, there's different layers and levels, right? Because it's a psychiatric thing or a psychology thing of some form. Like, so Bill Maher talked about it and basically opened up the discussion that makes it safer for you to have these conversations, because his whole point, if you watch that clip of Bill Maher on his HBO show, which it's interesting coming from him, because he'll tell you that he's a Democrat.
He is. He's a liberal. He's not a leftist.
Right. And his point is like, I haven't changed. All of y'all are changing me. Kids are impressionable. If you put this in front of them, they're going to want to mimic it, because that's just what kids do. That was like his whole point, which is, at what point do we have a conversation that's safe, that doesn't get any of us canceled, that have this conversation that says, do we really need to be pushing this on the kids because then kids are going to do what's popular. That's why our parents used to say, if everybody was going to jump off a bridge, would you do it? Right? Because kids do what other kids do, and what they see, they mimic it. It's like what all of us do. We mimic behaviors that we see to fit in because most humans want to fit in. So with that point, yes, you're normalizing it for kids to where are they even ready for that conversation? Do they have the capacity to talk about it? And someone, I was watching some show where they were talking about this. What did he say? I think it was on, it might have been on like Jimmy Dore on his podcast or something. But I don't know. It's just it's a risky, it's a touchy subject. But the point is kids are impressionable, and if you're pushing anything on a kid, whatever it is, they're going to mimic it. They're going to want to do that because it's going to make them feel popular, or they think it's cool because they were saying in California on the show that puberty blockers are more readily available in California than say Ohio because just the culture that's in California where it's open, it's talked about, it's it's an open thing where, and even parents think it gives them some clout because they sit around. And these are not my words. I'm paraphrasing from this show, not necessarily even my views. But it's important to have these conversations. Was the whole point, which is by Bill Maher doing that because he has such a big platform, it makes it more accessible for us to have these kind of conversations. Like, is a Barbie doll really the right thing to do? Because
no, they're just kind of push this crap on our kids younger and younger. And then you talk about, okay, I don't want to get off topic, but banning books. You see all this crap. Oh, people want to ban books. No, I don't want to ban books. But bringing in a Playboy magazine with nudity in it to a fifth grade class or a 5-year-olds or whatever would get you thrown in jail, but would not be appropriate. So there's things that are age appropriate, but these people think they can just shove this down everyone's throat. Like, so there's another Bill Maher quote. Maybe the boy who thinks he's a girl is just gay. Maybe the girl who hates girly stuff just needs to learn that being female doesn't mean you have to act like a Kardashian. Maybe childhood makes you sad sometimes. And they're over here with other solutions besides hand me the D-saw. And that's a quote from Bill Maher. Get away from our kids. Like, I don't want any of these leftists near my freaking kids. I can tell you that right now. Don't push your crap on my kids. Stay the hell away from my kids, honestly. Like, that's the whole point. Like, but they're trying to make this normal. They're trying so hard to make this normal, and it's not normal. And Bill Maher said something else the other day. I listened to a clip that he gave percentages. So your generation, Gen Xers was like, 4% were gay or ABG, yes. And then it changed, and then my kid's generation at this point was like 22%. He says at this track by 2057 we'll all be gay, and I'm like, no, because it's a bunch of crap they're pushing on you, and we know most of it's not even true. It's just, hey, we're gonna push this. Like, kids are looking for attention, so they stand out. So you can't say, you can't treat me like that.
I'm going back off my memory, but if memory serves me well, there was a point in time a year or two ago where I think even it might have been China, Japan, North Korea, or maybe South Korea. But anyway, in that general vicinity, they have basically they said the West is trying to feminize our boys to make them less capable of defending themselves, right? So they were like banning certain things, such as probably the Mattel doll would fit into that. But again, go and check it out. It might have been Xi Jinping that said it, but it was over there in Asia somewhere. But it was basically
it's true, though, because
blaming the U.S. and Western culture for changing their culture from what it means, because there's just certain.
They try and take all masculinity out of anything. So UFC fighting, that's barbaric. It's, all these things like that. Like, no, it's just stupid. It's just a certain small group of people trying to control everything that
it's
probably
all about
never
power.
had.
People want power, and from my perspective, if you want power, have your own community, just like they used to say, go create your own Twitter type thing, and then so people did, right? So you have a whole bunch of different ones, and then now they're trying to shut them all down because they don't have control over what's being said on those platforms.
Yeah.
Because they don't like what's being said, because people ask questions and they want to limit the conversation. So to tie a bow back onto it, by Bill Maher having this conversation on his show, it makes it more palpable for guys like me and you to sit here and pontificate, and we still may or may not get canceled or whatever. I'm by like not us,
You
but
can't
the show.
cancel us.
No, I know. I mean, I'm not going to change my mind because you
No.
take me off YouTube. I don't know. There's certain things that they don't want us teaching kids, right? So they can say that about us, that they don't want us teaching American history, the
Right.
real American history.
Right. It's racist. Can't teach that.
No, I mean, you have to teach everything so that you can learn from your mistakes. There are bad things that we have done as a country. There are warts. You have to expose it all so that you don't repeat the past.
Exactly.
So that's my take on it.
So that's our Barbie doll BS story of the day.
Yeah, I wouldn't buy that for my kids.
No, I mean, I honestly wouldn't buy Barbie doll anyways because I don't like. I mean,
because it used to be that Barbie was bad for girls' self-image.
Yeah, they've already. Yeah, because she was so skinny, she had big breasts, blah 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 blah.
Yeah, the proportions were.
I actually saw something very interesting the other day too. Last night, actually,
setting bad examples for kids because kids are impressionable and
Yeah.
then they want to try to look like that.
Well, so there was this meme last night, and it fit this perfectly. So there's like this skinnier girl, and she's watching the princesses, okay, and they're two. I don't know what it was, two skinny princesses, but the villain was like bigger, fatter people, right? So Ursula from Little Mermaid and somebody else, and I'm like, never really thought about that, but even like Disney or any of those, which I'm not a big fan anymore, Disney, but anyways, but you know, if your bigger person is portrayed as the evil person always, I guess I could see how a young girl especially would be like, oh, if you're big, you're no. Right. It's not the case.
Yeah, because they try to mimic. Kids are impressionable. Yes. We've been talking about that. You can go back to when I was a kid with rap music when it first came on the scene in like the late 80s, early 90s, with heavy metal, with video games. It still goes on. So on one side of it, they're arguing that it makes us aggressive, but then they're also trying to do the exact same thing with equal and opposite, other end of the spectrum type stuff. So they can tell us that we're, inculcating young boys with violence by playing video games, but they're not doing that by doing transgender dolls, drag queen reading hour at the library, all that other stuff, which it's clearly the exact same thing. So it's double standard. It's hypocritical. It's really what all of us should come together and realize we want our kids to be happy, healthy, and safe.
Right. And at the end of the day, my stance is, once you're 18 years old, I don't care what you do. I don't care. You can go to the doctors.
Yeah, I don't want anybody talking to my daughter about it.
Exactly.
Well, granted, she's 18 now, so she
can
handle herself. But
stop pushing your crap on my kids or anyone else's kids. Like, that's...
Well, part of it is taking the TVs out of the house because you're bombarded on commercials, shows with values that probably don't align with yours. And yeah, but again... I would let Zeta watch things, but I would have a conversation with her and say, hey, this is inappropriate or, whatever. Right. Like, don't talk like this. Don't act like this. This is fake. It's make-believe. It's not real life. And, not that makes me a special person, but that's what my parents did, which is, hey, you shouldn't be watching this.
Right. You still parent.
Right.
A lot of parents don't parent anymore, but all right. So, yeah, Chief's coming up really soon. So I got 2 more things we'll go through, and then we'll have the Chief come in. And we'll see if we get to this other thing. But so Micro,
the head of the police department in Newport,
smack the woke right out of you. Micro, who Dirty Jobs, he's the narrator for Deadliest Catch. Like
Micro.
It
sounded like you said micro.
Micro? No, Mike Rowe.
From Dirty Jobs.
Yes. Says that the U.S. government revoked permits to film Dirty Jobs episode at the last minute, allegedly over Rowe's personal politics. So I thought that was an interesting story that, he is more of a conservative person, but he's just a conservative person.
I think if most people were to watch him, he is kind of like a reasonableist.
Yeah, he's the kind of person I think pretty much anyone could be like.
He explains himself
I like
very
him.
well.
Who did it now? Oh, it's the chief. Hang on. We'll be right back. Sorry about that. That's the chief calling. Gonna run a little late. It's two missing 4-year-olds in Goshen, which is much more important than anything we're doing. But he's gonna try to get in here a little bit later. So that was our interruption. Yeah. So micro dirtiest jobs says that the government pulled his permit. So it must have been a government. It said GSA, and I looked up
General Services Administration.
Yeah, it's the only thing I could find. So he's like, I've been on tanks. He's done everything. Like he's done all kinds of stuff, and but he's gotten more political lately. But like common sense stuff, like I can't see many people disagreeing with the things he says. He's not.
Socialists and communists might, but
Well, yeah, that's exactly where. Yeah, and if you look at it, that's the direction our government's trying to go. But they're meeting resistance, and will continue to meet resistance.
yeah, the Constitution is not going anywhere.
No. So then I have a meme of the day, which fits really well. And then I'll go into some more stuff. But so it's here. Here's the meme. It says, all we have to do is stand up, and their little game ends. And basically, it's a monopoly board with, some of the richest men in the world that
The quote unquote elites.
the elites, yes. And there's like the Illuminati, and then there's basically they're making all their wealth off the backs of everyone, us, people, humans. So it's not just obviously Americans. It's the world in general.
It's the world in general.
So I think it's a pretty fitting meme, and this is one of these things that really got me because of like COVID and masks and all this crap. It's like all you guys have to do is say no. Say no. That's it. Like we forget the power we have as people, which is really frustrating because you just have to say no. I mean, first of all, there's no law, nor can you make a law. Like right in front of us, I have a book, New Hampshire Constitution. Go through that. Find me where you can tell me what I have to wear and not wear. You can't because it doesn't exist. And so this kind of fits to the whole thing in society nowadays. Like, just stop playing the game. Stand up and say no. Say, screw your freaking Barbie doll. I'm not buying your crap anymore.
Most people won't buy that Barbie doll.
No, they won't. It's just because they want to get on the woke train. Like, and just I'm done with it. Like, so done with it. We have another story. It's over there.
It's interesting, though. You call it the woke train. Most things that are going woke don't really succeed.
Everything woke turns to
if
sugar,
you
honey,
go
iced tea.
woke, go broke, something like that.
Which is starting to happen, which I'm so glad about. Like, good. That's what should happen. Like, if you want to out people like that to stand up for your 1 or 2% of the whole country and their views,
all
then
it is what's the word they use for it? Gaslighting.
Right.
Like, they'll gaslight,
But these companies are so stupid. Why would you get involved in this stuff? Like, if I owned a big company like that, I wouldn't want to touch it.
I would try to stay out of politics as much as possible because you want to make as much money as possible.
Right.
And so
when you alienate
I wouldn't necessarily
people,
cater to one or the other. I wouldn't say your doll is silly, or I wouldn't say your doll is great. I would be like, I have no comment about that doll.
Right. I'm going to buy that for my kid. Just end the story. Like,
no, you don't even say that. You say, I have no comment.
No, yeah. I don't understand. Like, I don't know why I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't understand. But whatever. We'll see what happens here.
Because we're talking about it now, so it's still getting out there into the zeitgeist.
And their purpose of selling stuff, it's not going to work out for them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I try not to buy certain products anymore. I'm pretty good at it.
Yeah, I'm the one that wrecks
cola
that.
sodas.
I give you a Coke and you're like, what the hell? But it tastes better. So now the more serious, well, not that it hasn't been serious, but part of our conversation with today's show. So one thing, like, once again, just proven, let's go Brandon moment. But so Biden executive order on police reform, basically after the horrible shooting in Texas on Tuesday. And basically so Biden thinks that he can rule with a pen with executive orders, which you're not a king. This is a constitutional republic.
The pen is mightier than the sword.
So yeah, and I'm so sick of. I mean, you control the House and the Senate, yet you still don't legally do things. You just, well, I can just write laws. No, you can't. Like,
Yeah, it's been going on for the last, what, 20 years? These executive orders are getting more and
yeah,
more basically like fiats from, I mean,
yeah.
all the presidents have done
Yes,
it up in the
they
last
have all
20
done it.
years.
Yeah, absolutely. So
So,
don't say,
yeah,
oh, well,
it's not
Biden,
just
Trump did
Biden,
the
it's
thing.
everybody.
They've all done it. Obama was one of the ones that started with like the most of them, I think, and then Trump did a bunch of them, and then obviously Biden's now doing them.
He started off with like 40 something in the first few days.
Yeah, he didn't even know what he signed. He just signed a bunch of crap. But so,
I'm sure they told him, but yeah.
but don't you think, like, for the timing of it, all right? Do you think more than anything you should have support behind police
So what
right
was
now?
what's the actual executive order? Because you kind of introduced it and then I kind of interrupted.
Oh yeah, sorry, I have it here. So basically, so it includes a national bad cop registry. So apparently, there's bad cop registry. I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are bad cops, just like there are bad
Yeah,
anything. I mean, there's bad teachers, there's bad
yeah, you
firefighters,
find
there's bad anybody. It's a chokehold ban and mandatory anti-bias training on the anniversary of George Floyd's death. And the thing that gets me too, like the whole George Floyd thing and all that happened after that. None of like they burnt down Minneapolis, but that was okay because the leftists supported that. But if we burnt down some city because of abortions, like we're against them, and that wouldn't be okay. I'm so sick of the double standard BS. You break the law, you go to jail. You that's it. So, the and this anti-bias training, like the whole thing is just ridiculous. So, George
we
Floyd,
all
okay,
have biases because we
yeah,
form them based on things that we've seen or heard. So
right.
again, I go to get rid of your television.
But if you want to go George Floyd, first of all, the cop that was responsible for the whole thing, the main
Was held
culprit
responsible.
that was held responsible. He was held responsible. But however, he's a piece of crap cop that should never had his badge to start with. He should have been fired probably years ago. He had personal history with George Floyd. And then there's a story that the medical examiner said that even if it wasn't for the chokehold, that he would have died of a drug overdose because of the drugs he was on. And like I said, the George Floyd thing, like I've watched the video, and I think it's completely ridiculous. Like those other cops should have stepped in, because like what the hell? Like I watched it. He was on his neck for a long time. Like not totally unacceptable. But that's one bad cop in a bad situation. And now it's like, yeah, let's take away the tools that the police department has to defend
that's how the
themselves.
government works. So even in the military, one person does something one time who's a grown man or woman, and then everybody suffers now because they didn't use whatever freedom or action that they had. I swear I just turned all that off.
New phone.
That's about as annoying as yours vibrating on the table, reverberating through the microphones. Since you're going to call me out, I'm going to call out your vibrating phone.
The chief called.
All right. Well,
Didn't call you, did
he
he?
might be texting me right now.
You don't have your number.
No, but so my point was, though, going back to what I was saying is one person does something and now everybody gets punished for it.
Exactly. So let's
punish that person for it and tell everybody else. This is what happens when you don't respect the freedoms or the responsibilities that you have.
So this is
the equipment that you have.
This is where we go into our next story. So the Texas shooting. Not gonna get into like.
You got nothing to say to what I just had to say there.
Got nothing.
That's how it is, though.
No, I agree 100%.
It's not fair and just. It's ridiculous.
This is.
And so he's doing exactly what I experienced when I was part of the government.
This is a perfect follow up to exactly what you were just saying, though. And so the Texas shooting. Once again, horrible. Nobody with any brain in their head would support and think what happened was okay and whatever. But I'm so sick of hearing like, well, we need to get rid of guns. You're right. So me and you should lose our rights because of a criminal breaking the law and killing a bunch of kids.
Right. Same type of thing.
Criminals don't follow laws. Criminals break the law. Drugs are illegal. There's not a state out there that drugs are legal besides marijuana. But you know what I'm saying? Ask the chief, be like, hey, what do you think? What's probably the number one thing you guys deal with on a daily basis with arrests and stuff? Probably gonna say drugs. Number one cause, right? Yeah. Number one cause of death under the age of 50 in this country right now, fentanyl related.
Opioids.
Opioids. Well, fentanyl, but yeah. So
I saw it as opioids, but yeah.
I saw it as fentanyl.
But it's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's yeah. So
fentanyl is an opioid.
Correct. Right. But it's just
but not all opioids are fentanyl. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, of course. So once again, so I don't know if you watched the president's live thing, and I just watched kind of the end of it because I can't stand the man speaking, but basically turning it political. Instead of just coming out and saying, I want to get to the bottom of what happened and, offers
don't
condolences.
Rush to judgment. Let's figure out exactly so we can prevent this type of thing.
Right. So this kid, I was looking at this story too. I'm not even going to say his name because he shouldn't dignify this person's name, and I hope he burns in hell. But so he was on Facebook, supposedly speaking to some girl that he was 15 in Germany or something. He literally just turned 18 9 days before this happened. So he bought an AR-15. Of course, I keep saying AR-15, but then another story says, a platform AR-15. So what did he really buy? Because
I was talking. My mom told it to me this morning, so I looked up the range. The cost of the weapons that he had were anywhere from $1,800 to like $2,700.
I found that interesting. Or I find that interesting because it's the first time I've heard you say that. So I couldn't afford an $1,800 or $2,700 gun. Like, I would love, like, people.
I could go charge it, but then,
right.
Like, why would I do that? Because now I'm going to be
paying.
But
how would an 18-year-old, and why would an 18-year-old go buy that kind of gun where you could buy just, if you had one purpose, which clearly that's what he had in his head, he was going to do something like this. Why would you go spend that money on a gun like that? You don't need a gun like that.
You can even take the. It's startling because he just turned 18 and he had that kind of money. He was driving an expensive truck. I think that was his grandmother's truck.
But before he did this, so he's on social media. He shoots his grandmother in the face. He goes on social media. And now he says he's going to. Well, he said it on. I'm going to shoot my grandmother in the face. He did it. Then he says I'm going to shoot up a school. Apparently, it was all reported to Facebook. Now, no blame on Facebook. That's not where I'm going with this. Because you can't fast enough. But now I'm looking at this story, and this was ABC 7, I assume probably, I don't know, it says LA out in the corner, so maybe it's LA, but it says that he's also allegedly committed animal abuse and displayed videos of cruelty to users on social media platforms, according to 2 users that they spoke with. So hearsay, 2 people that have said this, but so, and now this is the allegations of animal abuse are similar to what authorities have learned from the guy that was in Buffalo just a couple weeks back.
Well, that's like a trait that they found.
All serial killers.
Not
exactly.
all, but
majority are that way.
And so if you read about it, and if you trust what you've read in the past,
yes,
and you trust this, then yes, they have a tendency to hurt animals first.
Yeah, and so once again, like the signs are there, but here's the other issue, and just kind of ties it back to our local thing a little bit. So he just turned 18. So no matter what he's done before that, in New Hampshire, it's sealed. And we now have laws that take the power out of the chief's hands to actually do stuff in schools and put it on the school. But then the legislation in New Hampshire is also tied to school's hands and made it harder for the school to do the job. So if anything, you want to help fix these things. This whole sealing the record.
You want to get kids that are having these types of issues help.
Yeah, and you should get these kids that have these issues on a list that says this person shouldn't buy a firearm. I'm fine with that because they've showed like this. How to Willow Die? The book, Meadow. I keep saying that, man. I'm sorry, Meadow. So, oh my goodness, I'm sorry, Steve. I shouldn't have said what I said to you earlier. So like the signs are there, but nothing happened. And it's
it takes a serious conversation. So I think that's what your point is
well, we gotta stop tying the hands of people that potentially could do something and stop blaming it on a freaking gun, because it's drunk drivers kill people every day. Okay. We never blame it on the car. We never blame it on the alcohol. It's always the person. But when it comes to a gun, it's always the gun's fault. No matter what, it's the gun's fault. If they didn't have the gun, blah, 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 blah. Criminals don't follow laws. If someone wants to kill someone because they're just an evil person, they'll find a way. Whether they use a knife, whether they make a bomb, whatever they do, they'll do it because they're just an evil person. They're a bad person. Like, It's like so sick of this whole crap. Whoa, good. So what does Biden do? Yeah, this crap's gonna end. We need gun control. I'm like, so once again, you make it political, and then Beto O'Rourke, who's running for governor in uh, Texas, who's another d bag, interrupts the Texas governor and the lieutenant governor and everything, doing a press conference about this, basically to say it's their fault because he's Mister I want to ban an AR-15 type of weapon, blah 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 blah, and then he like left, and I'm like, dude, you're an absolute d bag. And actually, lieutenant governor, I think it was, just like called him out, like was pissed, like said something like.
Yeah, that's.
But just more of these people taking advantage.
It's an emotional issue, and you'll never convince me, and I will never like the. I don't know. There's so many hot different topic buzzwords that people try to use. It has nothing to do with hunting, the Second Amendment. It has everything to do with.
Well, that's the other thing he said. It pissed me off is during his press conference. You don't need an AR-15 to hunt deer. Well, if you feel and you think the Second Amendment is about hunting, then you're a bigger moron than I thought. Because the Second Amendment has nothing to do with hunting.
Yeah, it has.
It's
that
about
whole document is to protect us from
the people,
from the government, because they were all studied history and they saw that over time, power begets power, and then those of us that go about our every workaday lives and don't really pay attention day to day or have the time to go down and lobby with our time and money for a position, which it shouldn't take money to lobby. It should be like, hey, this is how I feel.
Right. Well, it's another thing. Biden wants to end gun lobbying. So if you're a gun,
they should end all lobbying.
Exactly.
It should be like the people or the lobbyists.
So the pharmaceutical companies that lobby and pay them huge money, let's end that. I'd be fine with that because. And people are like, why does this keep happening? Like he's like, this doesn't happen in any other country, not at the level it happens here, which and that's probably true. But I also want to point out something that our country uses, and I was trying to find the stat and I didn't find it. Honestly, I just got busy with stuff. But we use more pharmaceuticals in this country than like the whole world, just one country. So you want to know what's going on in this country? Probably a lot of it is the fact that you keep dumping pharmaceuticals into younger and younger kids, and you have ADHD, we need to put you on meds. How about no, that's not the issue and look for other issues. But we as a country constantly push meds.
Everybody looks to a pill of some kind to fix everything, whether it's
and
you're feeling, if you have energy, if you're overweight, underweight.
Yeah. What do you think all these pills...
Everybody's looking for a pill to solve their problems instead of using some personal responsibility.
And what do you think all these pills are? What do
and
they
that's
do
not to
to
say
a young
that
mind?
there's not a place for it. I'm not some
of course not
Scientologist saying
I have high blood pressure. I take a pill for it. I would probably always have high blood pressure because I have a mild kidney disease, right? So yes, I could lose weight and be in shape, but I probably would still have to, maybe not as much, but I would still have to take some, right?
You have to at least monitor it.
Correct. So I'm not saying medicine's bad. I'm saying why are we dumping all these pharmaceuticals into these kids constantly?
Hey, you can watch all kinds of shows and movies, and they are basically telling you that, and it's based on the news. You can go back and look at the news. These companies are not always looking out for your best interest. No. Even if they're trying to, they make mistakes that cost people their lives, that cost them their livelihood. If it doesn't cost them their lives, it ruins families.
Yeah, and it's nothing. It's just like, I mean, honestly, pharmaceutical companies...
What was the name of that show on Hulu that was Michael Keaton? Did you watch that?
No.
I'm going to look it up. Finish your thought there. I'll tell you here in a second.
But so before COVID, we were in a opioid epidemic. Yep. Big thing. We gotta fix this, and I totally agree. But what happened there? Pharmaceutical companies kept pushing doctors to just prescribe opioids, and then when you couldn't afford opioids anymore, when you were hooked on them,
it's called dope sick.
Then you bought heroin. So the pharmaceutical companies are responsible for a lot of this happening. And yeah, there's been this lawsuit. They've paid out a couple
you can
$1
go
million
look up and find the articles about how many mistakes pharmaceutical companies have made after they've said they've done the research and everything else. And I'm not just talking about recently. I'm like historically all the way up to current day.
Yeah.
And when you read that, you should have. That's why I say always read the inside of the pamphlets, because they'll tell you what the side effects could be, might be.
Yeah.
And then you have to wait. So again, I have no problem with taking experimental drugs if it's what's best for you.
Well, yeah,
But
if
just
you're
because it's good for you doesn't mean it's good for me. Just because you got to take a blood pressure pill every day, does that mean I have to?
according to the logic with you shouldn't be able to buy
Well,
a
all of
gun.
us should, right?
Yeah,
So, or
exactly.
I don't know. I mean, that's kind of like some. I mean, you can find some logical fallacies with the argument we just made, but the point is, do your research, realize who these companies are, what they're selling you, listen to the words coming out of their own mouths, and then judge for yourself and be like, did he really say that? Because you would be surprised if you watch it and you listen with an open mind, and you would, I anyway, cannot believe how clearly they'll tell us, like we talked about the other day with the pill that
Right.
will force compliance because it'll send an electronic signal to your, I mean, he said authorities or your doctor, but really it's to your phone, and your phone's connected to social credit. So I would encourage everybody to not sign up for any type of digital ID and not try to be going or not to hope for a cashless society, because once you do that,
Yeah.
then people, whether or not their intentions are good or not, eventually someone likes power, and then they're like, well, you know what? I don't like the fact that Tim and Steve are talking about this on their show.
Right.
So that
Can't
maybe
eat this
so
week.
maybe they cancel up. Maybe they cancel our YouTube channel, and then they shut down our vehicles for the next 2 weeks to teach us a lesson about having talking against their own talking points. I mean, they got rid of the disinformation board for a while, but it's not really, it's on pause. So I'm sure it's still actively working with some of the social media networks
Two,
and technology companies.
so two more statements out here, and then we'll wrap up the show until Chief gets here.
Everybody's
So,
going to think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but these are all easily findable
so
in their own words.
Whoopi Goldberg on The View.
Oh, is this an
Couldn't.
apology?
That's funny. You couldn't pay me to watch that show, just so you know. But anyways,
I don't even know who and why anybody would watch that.
so Whoopi demands the law basically to deputize citizens to snitch on pro-gun neighbors, and they're going to come for your AR-15s. Well, Whoopi, come and get it. And then this other one, Representative Osio
She's getting
Cortez.
paid to say that by somebody.
Oh, let's remember too, she has armed guards around her.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
You
she
know,
has a
just like
nice
all the-
8-foot fence,
Exactly.
wall, concrete wall around her house.
She doesn't need a gun because
gate.
she has money to buy people to have guns around that have guns. So if the government wants to get rid of all these guns and stuff, then they should
Do you
set
think she has a security team?
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, not all the time, but
Oh, I mean, I'm not trying to like fact check you. I just
but set the example.
I know
then.
exactly what you're saying.
Put
Like,
down your guns, Mr. President. You don't need the Secret Service. You don't need guns.
yeah, declare wherever you go a gun-free zone, and you'll be
Right.
safe.
He's also responsible for gun-free school zones, which I think is the stupidest thing ever.
Well, I mean,
Why would you like when I was in school?
I
Kids,
saw a picture. Did you see that? I don't know if it's real or not. I didn't have time to like investigate if it was real, but somewhere in Florida they have a retired service member.
I saw a
standing
story
guard
on it.
there.
I don't know.
I
I've
don't know
heard
if
that.
that's real or
I've
not.
heard about that too, and then Representative Osio Cortez to Rep Dilbert to quit Congress instead of acting like a useless piece of furniture when babies are being shot. That's funny.
What was it?
Cortez, AOC, tells Rep Brobert to quit Congress instead of acting like a useless piece of furniture when babies are being shot. So basically, Republicans aren't doing anything to fix this situation, which there's nothing they can do to fix it. But, you know.
Well, Bobert, she's from Colorado, and I mean, she's not really. See, there you go, using the whole. I mean, that's what she's.
But that's what it
applying
is, though.
But she's not even like a full blown Republican, because she kind of goes against the Republican Party as well, if I recall.
Right.
Oh yeah, you know what? I remember watching this Bella Thorne getting onto Whoopi Goldberg because she was telling her to grow up, get over the fact that you have paparazzi, and Bella Thorne, which was an actress on Disney. Did you ever see that?
No.
Not the show she was on, but her reaction. I think that's what this is. While I'm looking this up for her security, if she has any, only for talking purposes. You know what I mean? Like I don't. I can't find anything on it, but anyway, she basically made fun of her for complaining about paparazzi, and she was like, every time I see a paparazzi, it reminds me of the abuse I suffered at when I was a child actor. And so, yeah, to you, you don't complain because it doesn't harken back to the worst time of your life. She's like, but I want to be left alone, and they're asking me about things that makes me think about a bad time where I was abused as a child.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, because people open them out. You and I
and I
say
should say
things
that
that
too.
we'll
Like,
regret
no
too.
one
But
gives a crap about Whoopi Goldberg anymore. Like,
I don't know if they care about the View. I wonder what the. I don't know. I don't even know how it's still on the air.
nah, I don't know. But yeah, those just a few takes there, and like I said, it's just such crap. Like, this is ours, and I knew like the second it happened, I'm like, yep, this is what they're gonna do. They're gonna be like, oh, we're gonna take your guns. Like, so we take.
I mean, they do that every time, and
I know.
And I'm not trying to
But
trying to
Chicago,
take away from the tragedy. Those
exactly.
kids should never be in that
No, it's
position.
horrible. And the only thing I could say about the whole school shooting thing is we need to increase security at schools. And people are like, well, you shouldn't have to do that. Well, you shouldn't have to do that, but it's just the reality we live in, unfortunately, nowadays. That there needs to be a resource officer at every school. There needs to be, the doors need to be locked. Like, there needs to be protocols. And I know that most of them have in place, but
Well, see, I don't even like maybe right now we need that, but I remember when I was growing up, uh, rifle racks being in the back of.
Yeah.
And now, as I got into high school, I think it might have changed. Like they started.
there was
Like, hey,
guns
don't bring
always in
them
the
or
school.
whatever,
No
but,
one
like,
cared. It was no big deal.
Yeah, a lot of schools have shooting clubs, and kids are brought up to respect weapons by certain friends and family. Like kids should be like.
I mean, gun safety should be something they teach in school. I'm not saying necessarily go fire a gun, but if the kids don't want to, sure. But like, if you learn just to fear it, like Chief sits in here with a gun, are we like, oh my god, he has a gun? No, because it's no big freaking deal. There was 100 of us yesterday at the shooting club thing. No one got shot. Because guns don't kill people. Bad people kill people.
Yeah, well, like at the shooting range or our club league or whatever, that would be an accident, which it wouldn't be an accident. It would be someone had a safety violation. They didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Right, but the point
we
is,
all felt pretty safe out there, and
and the point is,
walking around.
We could put a gun on this table for every show we do from now until eternity, or next week when we get fired.
Today.
But guess what? The gun's never going to shoot us because guns don't kill people. People kill people.
Oh, they got a bunch of. So when Whoopi Goldberg makes these crazy things, then people start watching it again. So it injects some viewers into their show because of the controversy that she creates. But I mean, the ratings are way down. There's not that many people that watch. Yeah, more than what watch us, but
that's true. We can't argue that one. Anyways, all right. Well, Chief's coming in a little bit, hopefully, and yeah, this is today's show. Sorry we missed yesterday. We just figured we were going to take a day off and not talk about this, and there wasn't a lot of local stuff for us to talk about. So I'm like, hey, just skip a day, and then we had that little mess up with Tuesday's show. But now we'll know, and we won't make that mistake again. We both had our ringers on today. We both sucked at that.
I have a new phone. It's my excuse.
My excuse. I'm tired, and that's about it, I guess. School board meeting tonight, 5:00. Be there.
If this is uploaded by then.
That's true. Hopefully. High-speed internet we have. All right, guys. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.